Hello, everybody. This is Miss De La Garza. Having a good week. This recording will cover week 2 material if you're still having trouble with something. So let me get going here. So this is week 2 material. Okay. So the first piece I'm going to go over is going to be question number 3. And I'm starting with that because that's also, it's also option C on question number 1. So C on number 1. Both of those talk about transforming standard form into slope-intercept form. So what that means is if you have something like this. You have a problem that looks like that. That is called standard form. What I want to do is turn this problem into y equals mx plus b, slope-intercept form. And it's called slope-intercept form because this number, once you find out what it is your slope, m, and this is your y-intercept. And that's why it's called slope-intercept form. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So we want it to look like y equals mx plus b. So I need y by itself. So I need to move the 4x. I need to move the 4 and the x over. So what I have to do is look at the 4 and say, okay, it's positive 4. I'm going to subtract it over since that's the opposite. All right? Because I'm going to move it from this side to this side. And when I talk about sides, I mean sides of the equal sign. All right, that goes away. I bring down my negative 5y. I bring down my equals. And I bring down my negative 4x plus 20. Now let me talk about why I did that. Because remember I said I want it to look like y equals mx plus b. Well, the number in front of x is the m, and then the b is just the number by itself. So that's why I kind of switched them around. I also want to go over why you don't do 20 minus 4. It's because they don't match. That 20 does not have an x like the negative 4 does. So you can't subtract the terms when they're not alike. These are not alike. The 20 doesn't have x, but the negative 4 does. So you just kind of rewrite the problem just like you're seeing right here. All right, I'm almost finished because I have the y, but I still have that negative 5 attached to it. Now I just want to move the negative 5. I want to leave the y. So this is saying negative 5 times y is, it's basically multiplying in the middle there. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. And I'm going to divide by what I want to move, which is that negative 5. I want it to look like this, just the y by itself. So I'm going to divide by negative 5 on this side. If I do it on that side, I have to do it here and here. All right. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 is just 1. And in the math world, you don't need to write 1. You can just write it as y. It's known that that 1 is there. But if you want to do the 1, that's fine. Just know that the answer choices aren't going to have it there. But if you need to see it, that's perfectly fine. Bring down the equals. Negative 4 divided by negative 5 is just going to be 4 over 5. It won't reduce anymore. I'll keep my x. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. So this changes from 2 negatives to a positive. And then 20 divided by negative 5 is negative 4. Now we have y equals mx plus b. This is your m and this is your b. We have replaced our variables with numbers, or we have replaced our letters with numbers. Remember that variables like the m and the b, when we write it like that, they just represent numbers that we don't know yet. But now, since I switched from standard form to slope-intercept form, I now know what those numbers are. Okay, so if you were answering, or if you were looking for the slope, that would be it. All right, let's try one more, maybe two more. Actually, I'll just do one more, that way the video is not so long. And again, this is supposed to be helping with number 3. And then if you're trying to figure out how to find the slope on answer choice C on number 1. All right, let me do. All right, this is in standard form. So I need the y by itself on that one side. So I'm going to move the negative 3x. The opposite of negative 3x is plus 3x. If I do it on this side, I have to do it on this side of the equal sign. So then I bring down my 2y, and I no longer need the positive. We already know it's positive, so in math, you really don't need to write it there. It's just known. I'm going to bring down my equals. And again, I want it to look like y equals mx plus b. I want the number in front of x to go first, and then I want the b. And the 14 is a positive, so I just write positive. If you don't put anything there, let's say we don't put the plus, that looks like 3 times x times 14. Because when the numbers are all squished together, that means multiply. But we don't want to do that. So that's why we have to put that plus, that it's positive. All right, we're almost there. I need to get rid of that 2 in front of the y. So I just want to move the 2. I don't want to move the y. So that's why we're going to divide by the number we're trying to move, which is 2. So if I divide by 2 there, I've got to divide by 2 there, 2 there. This is just 2 divided by 2, which is 1. You don't necessarily need to write it. 3 over 2 does not reduce. You could say that it's 1.5 if you're doing it in the calculator, but remember when we're doing slope, we like to leave it in the fraction form because of rise over run. And then 14 divided by 2 is positive 7. And we're done. We've now put it in slope-intercept form. If you wanted to know the slope, it's right there, m. If you want to know the y-intercept, it's right there. Okay. I'm going to move on. Guys, y'all can always tell me if you're having problems in the Google Classroom. You can email me. Whatever you need to do to get a hold of me to let me know you're having problems. But if I don't receive any communication, I don't know what's going on. So please communicate. All right. So I'm going to go to the problems over here. Let's talk about option 1. So option 1 gives you 2 coordinate points. I can find the slope from 2 coordinate points. So this is just an example. This is not the problem. You're going to have to do the problem on your own. But this is it's just using different numbers, but you're going to do it the same way. Let's say they gave you -1, -2, and then they gave you 3, 4. There is a slope formula that you can use if you don't have a calculator. If you do have the calculator, remember that you can go to lists and spreadsheets, put your coordinate points in, then do menu, 4, 1, 3, and then find M, and that'll tell you your slope if you have the calculator. If you have trouble with the calculator steps, let me know and I can do more in-depth step by step. But just as a reminder, you can use coordinate points. They gave you 2 sets. As long as you have 2 or more sets of coordinate points, you can find the slope, which is m, in the calculator. You can also do that for option B on that same problem. Because if you look at, or option 2, excuse me. Oh, I thought it was letters. Whoops. If you look at the chart, you can put in the coordinate points in the calculator: 0, 1, 1, 4, 2, 7, 4, 13, 5, 16, and still do menu 4, 1, 3 if you have the calculator, and it'll tell you what the slope is. But anyway, I don't want to scroll out too much here. Let me go back, because if you don't have a calculator and you're trying to do option 1 on number 1, you're going to have to do something like this. So you have to use the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Well, which are my x's and which are my y's? Remember, for one set of coordinate points, that, or the way I always think of it is x comes before y in the alphabet. Well, it works the same way on coordinate points. X comes before y. Since -1, -2 was my first set of coordinate points, that's why they get the 1s, because it's my first set of coordinate points. Same thing here. X comes before y in the alphabet. Same thing on coordinate points. And this is my, and 3, 4 is my second set of coordinate points, so they get the little 2s. If you label this every time, you'll be all right. Just label x1, y1, x2, y2, and then you're just plugging the numbers in to your formula. So let's start with my y2. My y2 is 4. So I'm going to start with 4. Minus y1, which is this -2. Now, let me stop right here, because this is the biggest mistake people will make. They'll put just one negative there. Remember, this minus goes with this formula. This negative goes with this -2. 1, 2. There's 2 negatives there. So that's why you have to be really careful and follow your formula and plug in your numbers correctly. All right, bottom piece. X2. X2 is right here. It's 3. Minus, remember that minus is there. And then my x1 is that -1, so you have the -1. And I have a double negative there. That's important because 2 negatives make a positive. 4 plus 2 is 6. 3 plus 1 is 4. And then you can reduce this to 3 over 2. And this would be your slope. I guess I should have added that piece, but you're trying to find the slope, so that is m. All right, so if you follow along with what I just did, you should be able to just plug your numbers in and solve if you don't have a calculator. All right. There was a lot of number 1 that I kind of needed to go over with you. Nope. What was the other thing I wanted to go over? Okay, so earlier I said it's number 1, option C. I meant option 3. This 2x plus y equals 9, that's the standard form that you're going to have to turn into slope-intercept form. But miss, there's not a number in front of the y. Remember, if there's not a number in front, you can rewrite that problem with the 1 in front of the y. Dang it. So you can rewrite that problem as 2x plus 1y equals 9. That way you have that number there to kind of help you out so you can see it. So go from there and then write it on a piece of paper and solve just like I did the other problems earlier. And then finally, for number 1, option 4 is written like this. And I just made something up here. But really, if you think about it, you got to distribute first. Y minus 3 equals 3/4 times x is 3/4 x, and 3/4 times 2 is 3/2. Okay? And I just made up this problem, so positive 3/2. Don't get all scared because you're seeing fractions, okay? All I did was multiply 3/4 times x is 3/4 x. 3/4 times 2, which I did down here, is 3/2 because 6/4 reduces. But really, we're not worried about that. We're trying to find the slope. So far right now, this is my slope. Nothing changed from here to here because we just multiplied 3/4 x. There was no numbers to change it to multiply with. And then if you move the 3 over here to make it into slope-intercept form, plus 3, it's not going to go with the 3/4 x. It's going to go right here. So really, in the grand scheme of things, this would just stay the same, the slope. So you need to think about that while you're doing that problem, that the slope throughout the whole problem never changed. All right. And then number 2 should have been pretty easy, but I still had people not getting it, or you were just saying x is 3, y is 4, or whatever. And remember, when we talk about x-intercepts and y-intercepts, we need to write them as coordinate points. I'm going to try to draw a graph the best that I can. Yeah, that'll do. Whatever. All right. And then I'm going to write in my little, just so I can go a little faster. So I'm going to go over the x and y intercepts first. So let's say we have a coordinate point, or we have a line. Oh, that's ugly, but whatever. It went through here and it went through here. This is more important than my pretty line. Okay. Remember that the one going up and down is y, and the one going across is x. This is your x-axis, and then the one going up and down is your y-axis. So when we talk about y-intercepts, we're talking about when the line crosses either the x or the y-axis. So if I'm talking about that one, I'm talking about the x-intercept. So that is my x-intercept where this dot is. And if you count, remember, if you count from 0 and go over, that's only 1, positive 1. And that's what I was getting a lot, was x equals 1. Well, remember, we're not looking for it written like that. It needs to be written like a coordinate point. So remember that your x-intercepts are also called zeros because they have a 0 in it. So we went to 1 on the x-axis, because remember, you label x and y. We went to 1 on the x-axis, but we never went up and down. So that's my 0. So my x-intercept for this one is 1, 0. That's the type of answer that we're looking for. And I'm sorry, I know it's ugly, guys. I'm trying to do this with my little stylus, and it's just turning out pretty ugly. Oops, dang it. All right. All right, I'm not going to do that again. So then if I'm talking about my y-intercept, that's where the line crosses the y-axis, which is right here. All right, so that's my y-intercept. And we want to write it like coordinate points. So I'm going to start at 0. I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But remember that we write our coordinate points like x, y. So if I start in the middle, I didn't go left or right. So it stayed at 0. And then I just went up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on my y-axis. If you notice, they kind of have flip-flop. The x-intercept has a 0 in it in the y's place. The y-intercept has a 0 in the x place. And that's what happens with those intercepts. They flip-flop their zeros. They're opposites. All right. So that's the way we want you answering number 2. The other thing we wanted to talk about, or I wanted to talk about, was positive and negative slopes. All right, so let's say we have a line, a linear line, and it's going like this. Remember that when we read graphs, we read from left to right, just like a book. We read a book from left to right. Then you got to think of slope dude. If slope dude is starting on the left, he's got to move to the right. Well, if he starts to the left on this graph, he is walking up the hill. So this is a positive slope. Can I do a different color? I'm not sure if I can do a different color. Maybe just a different type of line. I'm going to erase this. Dang it, I knew it was going to do that. Oh well. Then if we have slope dude, say you have a line going this way, remember, you're still reading left to right. So if slope dude starts on the left here, and then he's going down, or it looks like he's going down, this is a negative. Whoa. So just remember slope dude. When he's walking up the hill, positive. When he's walking down the hill, negative. If he's walking in a straight line, like below, this is 0. It takes 0 effort to walk in a straight line. And then if the poor guy falls off the cliff, this is undefined. All right. So I hope that helps you guys out. Remember, please let me know if you need help. You can send me a message in the Google Classroom. You can email me, and that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to write down my email. My email is adelag1@neisd.net. So please let me know if you need help. There's also a Zoom meeting on Wednesday the 15th at 2 p.m. So please join us if you can. Thank you.